Great. So, hi Hannah. It's super good to have you here for our summer interviews. My name is Teresa Gu, and I'll be doing your interview. You want to
Hi,
go ahead and introduce yourself?
yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Hannah Gunther. I just graduated from Academy of the Canyons Middle College High School, which is in Santa Clarita. And I am now on my way to being a first year freshman at UC Santa Cruz, and I will be a computer science major.
That's really cool, Hannah. I'm actually in at Academy of the Canyons too, so it's great to talk to some of the alumni.
Yeah, it's really fun to talk to you guys.
Just to get to know you a little bit better, can we talk about some of the plans you have for the future? It could be like 5 years, 10 years, or any other interval.
Yeah, totally. So right now, the current plan is to be at college for the next probably 3 to 4 years, getting that comp sci degree. And then from there, I'm looking to get into a career in cybersecurity. So basically just helping people protect themselves online, and mainly working for like larger corporations and focusing on their security.
That's very in detail. I love that. It's very cool. Okay. We are going to shift the discussion over to high school. We're going to start there. We're going to move towards college. So, starting off with the basics, I just want to quickly know, like, what classes did you take in high school?
Yeah, so mainly I took a lot of community college classes focusing on math and science, and like computer science. So I just focused on really STEMmy classes because I've always been a person who kind of like knows what my major wants to be in college. So I've just really focused on getting a lot of STEM classes in under my belt during high school.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know that some people are like you where they know exactly what they want to do. But I also know there are a lot of high school students who aren't so sure about what they want to do. Do you have any like tips on like how to find what you're truly interested in?
Yeah, so I don't know, like I feel like I don't have a ton of experience with it because I've known for a while. I guess just kind of like exploring a lot of different options. Like even if you think it's something that's totally way out there, just exploring into everything and seeing what really sparks an interest. But also this is high school, so it's a good time to just kind of explore your options through different classes and just take something totally out of the ordinary just to see if you like it because it might end up being your lifelong career, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like exploring through classes, I think that's what a lot of students are doing. That's really, really cool.
Mhm.
And I know that you talked about taking a lot of like math and science classes, and I know those can be pretty hard. Is there like anything that you think really helped you succeed in those classes?
So I think what helped me succeed in like difficult classes is definitely just putting away a lot of time for school. So in high school, my biggest thing was that I was only doing high school. So I was just doing academics mostly and just focusing solely on that because I know that this is a really important time in my life and it's going to be kind of what predicts how I get into college and everything like that. So just really making sure you put as much time as possible into studying is going to be what helps you get through those really challenging courses.
Yeah, that's a really good tip for sure. I know that it kind of ties into this whole idea of like time management and like how you're prioritizing. Yeah. Okay. So I know classes are like the very academic side of things, but I also know that you did a few extracurriculars. Do you want to talk about them a little bit, like what you took part in?
Sure, yeah. So extracurriculars are also kind of the other side of the balance. So you're doing academics over here, but then you're also trying to explore into extracurriculars. And that can also be a way that you find out what you're interested in and maybe what you want to major in and study throughout college. So extracurriculars are really helpful for you to just kind of branch out and get to do something that isn't necessarily academic. So I did a lot of activities in my school's science club. It was called Imagining the Future. I participated in Science Olympiad for 3 years. I did student tutoring at my school. I participated in my student government. So just a lot of really wild, all over the place things. But it was just kind of to help me figure out what I like to do and just help me develop those interests and those skills, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Like when I was looking at this, I was like, wow, you're doing like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun because you get to just sort of branch out and you get to meet a lot of different people when you go to different extracurriculars because you'll meet all sorts of groups and cliques. So it's really fun to just sort of get in with all those people and get to know them and see different perspectives.
Yeah, I feel like those experiences would have been so interesting. Do you have like a favorite memory or favorite moment from that?
Yeah, so actually, one of my favorite moments from, I guess, sort of all of the extracurriculars of high school was that when I was participating in Science Olympiad, basically I started in my 10th grade, which was still during COVID. And 10th and 11th grade, we participated in Science Olympiad in an online format, which was kind of sad and kind of a bummer because you didn't get to experience the full thing. And then in my senior year, we finally got to go in person. And that was my first experience of Science Olympiad in person. So it was a really fun event, just sort of getting to connect with a lot of very STEMmy people, and it was really fun. So just getting to connect with a group of people is just a great opportunity in extracurriculars, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun transition of going like from 2 years of like online Science Olympiad to like actually being able to physically be there.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Oh, it's really, really exciting. Um, I'm going to quickly wrap up on like the high school section, but I do want to ask a few last questions. So with high school, did you find anything to be like really difficult about being in high school?
Um, I didn't find anything like crazy, but I would kind of say, along with some previous answers that I've given you, is just kind of time management and just making sure that you give yourself a lot of time to do everything that you need to do in high school. So I know we all talk about it all the time about not procrastinating on stuff, but I guess that's a big struggle for all of us. So just kind of learning those time management skills, because now is really the time before you go off to college and you're on your own. Like now is a good time to learn those skills. And they'll be life skills that you'll have throughout the rest of your life. So I think it's a good time to learn those because that's the thing that I think we all struggle with.
Yes, definitely. And speaking of college, I think it's time for us to shift over to talking about like college applications. I know that's like a very heavily looked at topic. So just like an overall question out here, like how was the college application process for you? Like whether that was like literally the forms or like how it felt for you emotionally.
Okay, yeah, those are two different things. So we'll start with forms. It's a lot. It depends on how much you are doing, how many schools you're applying to, and stuff like that. So just to overview my experience, I only applied to UCs and Cal State universities. Because I just knew that I wanted to stay in California and like I just wanted to be in a public school. But it really depends on how many schools you're doing. So it just depends on your numbers and also how many different application types. So you've got UC application, you've got Cal State application, and then you've got Common App, which is a whole nother thing. And a bunch of private schools use Common App. So it kind of just depends on that. So I feel like overall my experience compared to my friends wasn't as bad, but it's definitely a challenging time. And then emotionally, if we're talking about that side, it can be a lot as well, just because it's a very big, like you're focusing on the next 4 years of your life and your future and your job options and everything like that. So it can be a little bit emotionally draining. So I know that's a lot, but I just like, I kind of recommend throughout the whole process, just like kind of remembering why you're doing it and taking lots of breaks and just really trying to protect your mental health as much as possible.
Yeah, that's sound kind of taxing. I've heard some stories and I'm like, whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So kind of like a fun out there question, but like if you could go back in time and help your younger self with like the entire application process, what would you try to help yourself with first?
Okay, so I think I would definitely tell myself to start applications and specifically start your essays a lot earlier. I was kind of scared to start my essays because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to write. What if it's not perfect? And so I kind of pushed it off for a while. And then towards the end, it got really stressful because I was like, okay, I really need to get these essays in and they need to be perfect and they need to be fast. And like, I have to go, go, go. So basically, the UC application just came out August 1st. So if you're applying to UCs, like start looking at that now, because you will save yourself so much stress at the end if you just like start thinking about stuff now and just like start writing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just like start the process earlier rather than later.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Would you have any other advice for like trying to start your essays, or is it generally just like start writing? Was there anything that helped you
Honestly,
help inspire you or anything?
yeah, it's honestly just start writing, because if you wait to have the perfect thing, it's never going to happen. It's not going to be as perfect as you think it is. So if you just start writing, you can always delete and revise later, but if you just start brainstorming now, I think that's where the good, like, original and like really sparking essays come from.
The way you said that was very inspirational. I think that's gonna help so many like seniors in high school.
I hope so.
Speaking of like the colleges that you chose to apply to, was there like any specific factors that go in there? And like, do you want to list them out for us?
Yeah, totally. Okay, so the first thing you have to think about is if you want to stay in California or in state, if you're not in California, or if you want to go to the other side of the country and be totally far away. So for me, it was really important that I stay close to my family. So I wanted to stay in state. Next thing you have to think about is public versus private. Basically, a public education is gonna be a little bit cheaper than a private education. However, some private schools are more prestigious. But in California, I feel like we have pretty good schools. Our schools are pretty well renowned around the country. So for me, I chose public schools, and I chose to only apply to UCs and CSUs. And also just kind of how much work you want to put into applications. Because if you start applying to private schools through the Common App, it is a lot more work, which is totally doable. You just have to think about how much time and energy you're willing to put into applications.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard some stories of like people writing so much to apply to colleges. Just like, whoa, that is a lot.
Also, one more thing, I just thought of this. If you also are thinking about, if you do know your major, it's also kind of a factor in what schools you want to go to. Certain schools have really good programs for certain majors. So like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a major right now. Like, I don't know. I can't think of something specific right now. But if you look up like, oh, let's say you want to be a biology major, you go biology programs, best colleges in this state or whatever, then you can find schools that really have a great program for your major. And that will kind of also help you decide where you want to get the best education from, I guess.
Yeah, that is some good advice. It's like very major specific.
Yeah.
Oh, I know scholarships are also like part of this entire discussion. Did you apply to any scholarships?
Okay, so I applied to a few. I wasn't scholarship huge. I was honestly planning on applying to more scholarships, but kind of after application season, I just never really got back into it. And that's something I kind of regret. Like, I kind of wish I did a little bit more. So basically what usually happens is you do college apps during fall all the way to like December holidays, and maybe a little bit after that, but most of them finish like around December. And then usually what you want to do is like from December to May in the spring session, you kind of want to apply for scholarships. So those can come from your school. They can come from just like online programs. You can find them at the high school that you're at right now sometimes. So definitely apply for those scholarships because they're important. College is expensive.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to like the scholarships, did you have, I know there are like STEM specific scholarships. Was that kind of like direction you were going with this?
Yeah. So if you have a specialty, usually those scholarships are better to target for you because less people are applying for them. If you apply to a scholarship that has no requirements, it's just put your name in and we'll apply you, then everyone's going to be applying for that. And it's pretty low chances that you're going to get it. But if you apply to a scholarship where you have to write an essay and you have to have all these qualifications and everything, then it's going to be a very few number of people applying and you're much likelier to get chosen. So I did try to go after STEM ones. I don't think I ever got any that made it, but that doesn't mean that you don't get them. It's just I didn't apply to a ton.
Yeah, I think the scholarship thing can be pretty tough. Do you have any advice on like where to look for scholarships, especially like online if your school doesn't provide any, where you don't have something very specific?
The only website that I've actually ended up using is bold.org, which is kind of like a pretty highly advertised one. I haven't gotten into it yet, so I don't think I can give any other ones.
Okay. I get that. I think I've seen some things about bold.org before. Yeah. Okay. I think we're close to wrapping up for tonight, but is there anything that you're like really looking forward to in college?
I am looking forward to like joining a bunch of clubs and just like getting to meet people on campus. And then also just like, I feel like it's going to be a lot lower stress levels with academics just because all through high school, you're kind of focusing on getting into college. And then like once you're there, I feel like hopefully it'll be a little bit nicer and it won't feel so stressful with academics. And so I'm just excited about like getting to learn about what I want to learn.
For sure, yeah. Oh, and I do know that you got accepted to like quite a few colleges. What made you choose UC Santa Cruz?
To be honest, a lot of it was the location. Santa Cruz is in the middle of the redwoods and it's also by the beach. So it's a really pretty spot. And then it's also the closest closest UC to Silicon Valley, which is like a big area for computer science people. So it kind of gives me the best opportunities to get internships there. So like for big companies like Google or Windows or anything like that.
Actually, it's very cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have like a dream company you want to work for?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I've kind of always wanted to work for Google because they look like a really like fun company to work for, but I haven't actually looked into it that much. When I was a lot younger, I was like, ooh, I want to work for the NSA and like be like a national security person. I don't know if that's still the dream. I think I'll become better educated on where I want to work once I get into college and kind of start figuring out the options. But I mean, those are like the dream jobs.
It sounds like younger you had like a really nice dream.
Yeah.
I think that concludes most of the questions I have here. But do you have any last words for our audience in regards to like anything we talked about tonight or any other things you want to share?
I would just say to like kind of just like put it out to everyone that like high school is a really fun time. And yes, it can be very stressful at certain times, but just like keeping in mind that like your mental health is really important and just like sort of keeping your sanity throughout all of high school because it's a really important and a really fun time that you get to experience with your family and your friends and all of your classmates. So I would just say to keep that in the front of your mind and just kind of being grateful for the time that you're in.
I will say that that's the part where I think we should have touched on mental health in high school.
Mental health in high school. That's important.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we did quite a few years of high school online. I think that was probably pretty tough. And then coming out of that, like back in your senior year, especially with Science Olympiad being like in person, what were some things that you did for yourself to help get through all of high school, especially like the online course as well?
Yeah. So for me, we went online at like the middle towards end of my 9th grade year. And I was online for all of 10th grade. And then I came back in person for 11th and 12th. So for me, it was just really important that like I kept a really strong schedule throughout COVID, like with my classes and like how I did my homework and like everything like that. Like I had to have a strong schedule so that way I didn't like just completely lose it during COVID. But I think coming back in junior year, like kind of made it all worth it because it was like, okay, I get to see all these people that like I knew in ninth grade and it was really fun. And so just kind of getting back to that, like, I guess normal school vibe was really, really made it worth it for me.
That's very cool. And also, like, I feel like we've got to mention mental health during college application season. I know this is the time that kind of gets seniors really up and going. Was there anything special you did for yourself during that application season, maybe during it or perhaps like even afterwards, like if you celebrated or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely celebrated a lot when we were done with college apps. I think like the second I submitted all of them, like we went to go get ice cream. I would say during it, the most helpful thing was like talking to my friends about their college apps. So like we could all like make sure we're on the same stress level and everything. And we're like, okay, I'm not going crazy. Like everyone else is just as stressed out as me. And I don't know. I don't know if that actually helps your stress level, but it always seemed to make me feel better. So I don't know. I just say kind of talk to your friends, know that you're all in it together, and talk to teachers and counselors as well. They're really helpful and important in helping you throughout the whole season and process.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of unity between the seniors during college
Yeah.
application season.
Yeah.
I heard there's also like a lot of like senior events. Would you recommend going to those? Was that like something helpful or just like overall fun?
Yeah, that was totally fun. I think I went to almost all the senior events, and they were really fun and just kind of like the ones during college app season were definitely like a little bit like stressful. And I'm like, I don't know if I have time to go to them, but they always ended up like making it really fun and enjoyable. And then the ones afterwards were just like really sweet and like emotional. And it was like, oh, we're leaving high school and like we're done. And it was like, it was just really fun. So I would definitely recommend going to it. Even if you're not like super connected with the rest of your class, it's like, it's a fun way to connect in your last year.
Yeah, I've heard some people make arguments like, oh, like maybe you shouldn't go to this, especially during like college application season. So you should focus. But I also hear so much conversation on like, hey, you should go, like, go talk to people, have some fun. It is college application season. Take a moment to relax.
Exactly. Like, you know, you're working all the time. As long as you are feeling okay with where you're at, I feel like it's important to take those mental health breaks and go and just enjoy your childhood a little bit before you're completely done with it, you know?
Yeah, definitely enjoy the last bit of high school before it ends. But college seems like a wonderful next step and
Yeah.
like a wonderful adventure.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. It'll be really fun. It's something to look forward to. Both seasons are great.
For sure. Okay, I think that's going to actually wrap up our section now. We're going to move towards our Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, you can just unmute or type it into the chat box. Yeah. I'll give everyone a bit of think time as well. So
Yeah.
take a moment.
Oh, okay.
I think we got one in the chat box. Let's see. What was your favorite part about your high school experience?
I think my favorite part, I think it was kind of like forming close bonds with my teachers and peers. That probably happened because of being away from COVID and then coming back. But just like forming those really close connections was really important to me. I had like a lot of teachers throughout high school that like I got to see throughout the years. And it was just like really fun to get to form those relationships and learn from them. So I think the people was probably the most important and best part of high school for me.
Yeah, I think sometimes the social life can be like very exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have any friends who are also going to UC Santa Cruz?
No, I am going in with no one. I know there's a couple of people in Santa Clarita that are going from other high schools, but no one from AOC did.
Well, maybe that does give you a chance to explore a campus and meet new groups.
Yeah, you get to make new friends, which is always fun.
But yeah, it would also be cool to keep in touch with like high school friends. I know that can be tough sometimes. I've heard like being kind of difficult. But
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
like, Seems pretty awesome. Do we have any more questions? I have a question of my own because I'm not seeing any questions roll in right now. But what do you think you're going to miss most about high school?
I feel like, okay, so kind of going back to like people were my favorite part. I feel like in high school, you kind of get to form really close bonds with people because you're like going from class to class with them and it's like all the same people all the time. And I feel like in college that might not be so true because like you're all taking different classes and you're just like going everywhere. So I think I'm gonna miss just like having like, I guess just like making it easy to form relationships because you're with people all the time. So I think it's gonna be a bit more difficult in college, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to look kind of different, but I feel like you're going to do great because I've seen you around campus and I'm like, wow, Hannah is so cool. I did get another question in a chat box. It's about letters of recommendation, and it's just asking like who maybe your teachers or people in the community, like who did you get those letters of rec from?
Yeah. So I got letters of rec from teachers that I was really close with, kind of throughout all of high school. So the first one was my high school math teacher. If you go to AOC, Mr. Labus, I was really close with him because I took freshman math classes with him. And then I was involved in clubs with him throughout the rest of my high school years. So he was able to give sort of like a STEM side and an extracurricular side with me in recommendation letters. And then the other person was Mr. Kegley, our science teacher. Same thing, involved with him through classes in 9th grade and then through clubs the rest of high school. So just trying to get people that really know you really well. And if you know people who like know you from both an academic and an extracurricular side, I feel like those people are probably the best people to talk about you.
Yeah, that's a really good recommendation. Um, just like quickly ask, how many letters of rec did you get? Was it only two, or did you get some more?
Yeah. So for me, the schools that I applied to did not require letters of rec. So I only got them for scholarships, but I only got two. You can get more than that from like other people. Like letters of rec don't have to just come from teachers. They can also come from like supervisors if you volunteer somewhere, or your managers at your job, or like anything like that. Anybody who is an adult who knows you well and isn't one of your family members, they can write a recommendation letter for you. So I know in a lot of private schools, in a lot of Common App schools, you have to get letters of rec, but I'm not the best person to ask for that because I didn't do any Common App schools.
All right, that's definitely good to know. I've heard about getting letters of rec for scholarships before, and that's very interesting. Okay. Let's see. Do we have any last questions for Hannah? Let me give everyone a moment.
Yeah, you're good.
I will say it's really great to have you here. I know that like heading into August and like early September, this can get really busy for people like heading into college.
Yeah, it's a little bit busy at the moment, but it's an important thing to talk about. So I think it's something fun and important for you guys.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here to share this with us. And I'm sure more people will also get to watch it through YouTube.
Yeah. Hello to everyone on YouTube as well.
I'm not seeing any more questions, just like a quick reminder. If you do want to unmute, you can. Otherwise, just type in the chat box. I think we're going to give people until, let's say, 8:40.
Yeah,
And if we
totally.
hit 8:40 and there are no more questions, then we will close off for tonight.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I was gonna, okay. While we're sitting here waiting for people, I guess I can share something that I found helpful about college apps. one recommendation that I would give everyone is to, when you're writing your essays or any sort of personal statements, to really have somebody who knows you well read it over for you. So for me, that was like my parents and my sister. So we just like we're constantly passing essays back and forth and just like proofreading everything and editing all the stuff. So one thing that I would say is when you start early on those essays, then you have a lot of time to go back and forth with people and like do a lot of proofreading. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your family. It can totally be like a counselor or a teacher or anybody who like really knows you and your story well. But I would say give yourself a lot of time for that editing stage, because that's like when a lot of my stuff became a lot better. The original essays that I wrote like weren't that great, but once they got through editing, then it was a lot better. So that's one of the recommendations that I would give.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that editing is such a big part of like writing college essays. How long would you estimate like the writing took versus like how long the editing took?
Oh, okay. So they were kind of like intertwined stages for
Mm.
me, because honestly, I would like write something originally and then we'd like take out whole paragraphs and like replace them. So I can't really isolate the two. Like basically what I did is I just like had a schedule like every Saturday morning, like this is what you're working on and like for this many hours. So it was just like it was a long process for me, I guess, because I didn't like start out with anything like close to perfect at all. So it really depends on like what you start with, I guess. But I'd say probably most likely you're going to spend more time editing than you are writing, because that's just kind of like the way it goes, I feel like, for most people. So
I've heard that some people choose to write like a bunch first and then take time to go back and edit everything. But yeah, I think the way you did that would actually be really helpful of like continuously going back and editing.
yeah, totally. Yeah, also you have to think about word counts. Word counts are difficult sometimes. So like I'm not sure what they are for other schools, but I know for UCs, like it's pretty short and you have to give a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So sometimes just writing a whole thing and then editing it down later helps. So yeah, it can take time. It depends on your style and your strategy, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a lot of condensing your writing. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in our chat box, so I think we're about to close off for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Hannah.
Yeah, it was wonderful talking to you.
All right. Bye, Hannah.
Bye.